Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm springtime Toowoomba welcome to everyone to this afternoon's presentation by the Venerable Master Chin Kung AM. It is a real privilege for the University of Southern Queensland to co-host this event with our friends and colleagues at Pure Land Learning College Association here in Toowoomba. My name is Patrick Danaher, and I'm one of two Associate Deans Research and Research Training. Professor Tiru Aravintham, my counterpart Associate Dean, is also here with us today, and this is very much an inter-institutional, inter-divisional and inter-faculty, cross-faculty event. It is absolutely terrific to be able to welcome so many people here this afternoon from outside USQ and also from within our USQ community. Just a friendly reminder at this point, please, to make sure that your various mobile devices have been turned off, and also to let people know that the presentation and discussion this afternoon will be live streamed, and also that photographs might be taken during the proceedings. We begin with the acknowledgement of country. In the spirit of reconciliation, the University of Southern Queensland acknowledges that it is situated on country for which the Jawa and Gayabil people have been custodians for many centuries, and on which they have performed age-old ceremonies of celebration, initiation and renewal. We acknowledge their living culture and unique role in the life of this region, and we offer our deep appreciation for their contribution to and support of our academic enterprise. As well as welcoming absolutely everyone here this afternoon, I would also like to acknowledge and to thank for their attendance and support Professor Janet Verbeler, our Senior Deputy Vice-Chancellor, and also the sponsor for today's event, Professor Lynn Karstad, one of our two Faculty Executive Deans, and unfortunately our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Jan Thomas, and also Lynn's fellow Executive Dean, Professor Barbara de la Harpe, unfortunately aren't able to be with us today, but they send their very best wishes. It's also a great pleasure to welcome everyone from Pure Land and from USQ and from elsewhere in our community. It's a pleasure at this point to thank a number of people whose help was indispensable in preparing for this afternoon's event. Our friends at Pure Land initially proposed today's presentation, and they've provided invaluable support leading up to today. And they've also been very generous in sharing some of their books, which I've shared with various people here at USQ, so much appreciation for that. Also, Mr. Stefan Chang, who's somewhere in the room, will be doing the interpreting for today. And at USQ, grateful thanks to Hazel Harrower, Lorraine Hawes, and most recently Letitia O'Mara, who've done an outstanding job with the logistics for today, and also Warren Hedges and his colleagues in the university's ICT section, who have engaged wholeheartedly with the very exciting technological challenges that have arisen. The format for this afternoon is that the Venerable Master will speak with us for around about 30 minutes, ably interpreted by Stefan. There will then be a period of discussion with the Master, and then we'll be able to continue the conversation, enjoying the hot food and other refreshments to be served outside this lecture theatre at the end of the event. So please, you're very welcome to stay around and to enjoy that. And now it is very great pleasure indeed to introduce the Venerable Master Chin Kung AM. And these are only a few of the really significant markers of a lifetime's devoted and distinguished service. The Master is a Buddhist monk from the Mahayana tradition, and he founded the corporate body of the Buddha Educational Foundation based on the teachings of Pure Land Buddhism. The Master has spent many decades teaching and sharing his insights and understandings. He is well known for using contemporary technologies to spread the Buddha's teachings, including audio tapes, videotapes and CDs. In June 2005, the Venerable Master was appointed as a member of the General Division of the Order of Australia in the Queen's Birthday Honours. He was recognised for service to the Buddhist community, particularly through promoting Buddhism and fostering interfaith activities among diverse ethnic groups. Also, in recognition of this significant community service, the Master has been awarded several honorary doctorates and professorships, including being recognised as a Doctor of the University of Southern Queensland in 2004. Friends and colleagues, religious leaders, and universities and other producers of knowledge have both the privilege and the responsibility of asking the really big questions about the meaning and purpose of life and existence. And there are perhaps no bigger or more important questions than those posed in the title of the Venerable Master's address this afternoon. So please join me in welcoming the Venerable Master to discuss with us knowledge, peace and research, the role of contemporary universities.
Today, they are professors, lecturers, and many administrators of the university who are present today. Students of the Pure Land College and friends. Today is indeed a rare opportunity to come to the university to talk about education. In today's world, it's full of turmoil and unrest. We have many man-made and natural disasters happening in the world. What happened? And quite a few friends who have raised this question about what's happening to our world today. My answer is very simple. It's education that is problematic. In the Mahayana teaching, the Mahayana Buddha's teachings taught us that the whole universe came from our thoughts. This understanding has been proven partially by the quantum physicists of our time. So it has helped us gain confidence in the teaching of Mahayana Buddhism. University is a place of higher education. This time I was given this topic to talk about the definition of higher education. I'm very happy to come across this title. Higher education is defined as the cultivation of people who would possess virtue, knowledge, and loving kindness for others. It should be someone who can help alleviates the suffering of others through God's love and compassion. In another word, it is to cultivate a person into a saint, a sage. Then this will qualify as the definition for higher education. Our world is experiencing unprecedented chaos. And if we trace the problem, we can find that education is in the center of this current issue. We can no longer, our world today emphasized material civilization and ignored spirituality. We emphasized the teachings about knowledge, and we forgot how to teach people to become a proper human beings. So people are seeking profit rather than seeking honor. Just like the mentions of Confucianism, when the country and its people are all seeking profit, then the nation is in danger. So what kind of education are we talking about here? There are family education, social education, formal education, and religious education. Every education emphasizes the teaching of morality and virtue and causality, as well as the teaching of saints and sages. So according to the Chinese traditional sutras, I'll briefly talk about what is the ideal definition of higher education. But before that, we'll talk about a little bit about the history of China. As we know, there are 5,000 years of history to the Chinese culture. It has taken the form of the four, with Chinese 5,000 years of culture, history. It's one of the civilizations that has been able to kept all this record intact in the form of an encyclopedia. It's called the Four Branches of Literature. This set of encyclopedia can be found in the USQ library. It has a huge number of volumes. The publisher of this encyclopedia has talked to me before. He said that if a person is able to read and study since birth, and if this person is to study this encyclopedia for 8 hours a day, 100 years later, he still will not be able to finish this encyclopedia. I believe this is one of the most comprehensive collection of literature in human history. This encyclopedia contained the wisdom and knowledge of ancient Chinese. It included the result, the method, and everything from self-cultivation, managing a family, governing the nation, and bring peace to the world. And we are able to use this knowledge to bring true peace and harmony to everyone around the world. There are much wisdoms and knowledge to be found in this encyclopedia. In Tang Dynasty, which is 1400 years ago, one of the founder of the Tang Dynasty, he did something monumental. He asked a group of scholars to compile a set of book. It was called The Governing Principle of Ancient China. It's translated as such title now. So all the way to him, who lived 1400 years ago, the scholars of his time compiled all the literatures prior to his becoming emperor, covering a span of 2,500 years. The scholar collected anything that's related to self-cultivation, bring happiness to the family, bring security to the society, and bring prosperity to the nation, and bring peace to the world. Anything that's related to this, it's being compiled into one set of book, comprised of over 500,000 Chinese characters. And the USQ library has also have this particular book. We are doing our best to translate this book into English. We hope that everyone will have the chance to read it. I believe it is a treasure given to us by our ancestor, which is a treasure that should be shared by all of humanity. In this book, it has collected a very important set of books. It's called the Four Great Books. Intellect, Mencius, it's extremely important that we study this book because they will teach us how to properly behave as a human being, how to interact with others, with different affairs, and deal with things. And in this set of book, it told us very clearly what is an ideal definition of higher education. The three most important principles that's related to the definition of higher education are the following. First of all, we need to understand one's true nature. This is a very profound level of understanding. This is the level of saints and sages. It is the original form of wisdom. Our wisdom is innate to all of us when we can have access to our innate nature. We will find the profoundness associated with it. Then the second principle is be loving to our fellow man. Basically, this is to express God's love through our own behavior and speech. Because from the scripture, God's love is very abstract. So as children of God, we need to practice the message of God through our own behavior and speech. So we take care of others on behalf of God. Then lastly, it's achieving perfect kindness. So what is perfect kindness? Heaven is one such place. For the Buddhists, we believe in Western Pure Land. Well, we talked about other three principles. Then there are the 8 topics. There are 8 items that needs to be learned by everyone. The first one is curbing or subduing one's desire. Desire is not a wonderful thing. It needs to be curbed or managed. If desires goes beyond what's normal, when the desire is not being controlled, then we will see turmoil around us. And it will lead to the various disasters we see around the world. So we need to control our desire, especially desires for materialism. This is the first thing we need to learn when we are learning from saints and sages. We need to overcome our desires. Then, secondly, we will achieve wisdom of understanding. Wisdom can only come from purity of mind. When our mind is pure, when our mind is tranquil, then wisdom will come forth. Over 2,000 years ago, Buddhism first came to China. Chinese people embraced Buddhist teachings wholeheartedly. And Buddhists talked about 3 things: following precept, which is to regulate our behaviors, speech, and thoughts. Then from that, we will gain meditative concentration. After we have gained that meditative concentration or tranquility in our mind, wisdom will naturally come forth. So purity, equality will give rise to awakening. Wisdom, when it appears, then sincerity will appear. So sincerity is not something we learn. It comes from our innate nature. It's just purely sincerity. Sincerity represents true mind. Then we have the original nature of goodness. The Chinese ancestors, I believe, this was before the birth of the Buddha. Chinese were already talking about we were born full of innate goodness. We acquire negative habit, but our true nature, our innate nature is full of goodness. If we observe carefully, we can see this. Just look at babies. Just look at an infant. Within the first 100 days of a baby who was just being born, you can see total purity and love from the child. He or she may not know who the parents are, but they are expressing love and kindness towards everyone who comes near the baby. So why do we become acquired negative habits? It's because we have gradually learned from our environment. We have taken in this negativity. But our true nature, our original nature, is full of goodness. We share this innate goodness, just like God. Buddha said that all of us are originally Buddha. We have the Buddha nature in us. That's what it means. So this is where education comes in. Thousands of years ago, Chinese ancestors saw this very clearly. So how do we teach a child? We need to lay down a very solid foundation, all the way from inception, when the baby are still inside mother's womb. The fetus even when the fetus was still inside mother's womb, the mother will make sure she's away from all things that's negative. And the baby can sense this positive environment produced by the mother's careful, controlled environment. So even though when the baby is first being born, we may think that the baby is not able to learn or see or hear, but they are already observing. Within the 1,000 days of its birth, we do our best to protect the baby from hearing anything that's negative. And we do so for 3 years. So when we are able to do so for this child, then at the age of 3 or 4, the baby is able to tell right from wrong. When he sees something positive, he or she is very happy to come in contact with it. But when something negative come up, they will be away from it. There's a Chinese proverb that says, when the baby is 3, you can see how this person will be like at the age of 80. So who is the person who is responsible for laying the foundation for higher education? It is the mother of all families. Then, when later the child grew up and entered into school, then it is teacher who is responsible for the child's education. Still, the teacher will keep the students away from everything that's negative. Then such education is continued until this child has grown up to 17 or 18 years of age. For the Chinese people, such education has disappeared for more than 150 years. I was born in a farm. So even though such traditional mode of education can no longer be found in the major cities, but in the rural part of the country, we can still have a lingering connection with such mode of teachings, teaching about morality and virtue. Nowadays, prior to World War II, we still have such private tutoring that's taking place in the rural part of the town. And only with this foundation, then can we talk about the practice of self-cultivation. When we cultivate ourselves, we are keeping our mind full of wisdoms without afflictions. Afflictions will bring illness, will attract illness to ourselves. So when we have purity of mind, when we have an equality of mind, then our body, our mind will be sound. So through self-cultivation, we can then harmonize our family, and then we can bring prosperity and proper governance to the country, and lastly, bring peace across the world, where ethnic groups, religions will all be able to live and coexist in peace and harmony. Equality is very important here. Every ethnicities, every faith, they are number one. Every country is number one. There is no number two. This is the mindset we should hold in ourselves, to respect, to care for one another. That is how we can bring this magnificence, this virtue, to bring sincerity, equality to everyone, to care for everyone, to share the teachings with everyone. Those who are teaching must emphasize in the teaching as a role model, using one's behavior, speech, to teach others. In the past, we have conducted a series of experiments in Tangshi, in the Anhui province of China. I believe there are many successful educators throughout our history. As a Buddhist, I believe Buddha Shakyamuni and Confucius, they were two perfect examples. The secret to their success in teaching is because they practiced what they teach before they started teaching. So the students can see that they are truly practicing what they are teaching, so they respect the teachers and they accept such teachings. Then naturally, in this manner, the teacher understands what is virtue, and they will achieve perfect kindness, and the students is able to follow the teacher's example. So we are treating everyone with true sincerity, true purity, true respect, to learn from everyone. Then, looking at our present educational system, I believe it is the family education that is problematic. More than 63 years ago, I was learning philosophy. I especially loved to learn about different philosophies. I encountered my first professor. I wanted to learn from him. I wrote a letter to him, and then he later invited me to his house. It was a Sunday. After we met for the first time, and I wrote a letter to him expressing wish to learn from him. And the first thing he asked me was what I have learned so far in my life. And I reported to him very honestly. It was during World War II that I lost my chance to study in school. So I only graduated from junior high school. I had never entered into high school. I wrote a letter, and I also sent him an article that I wrote before. After he read those, he said, "Did you lie to me?" And I said, "No, I dare not do that." And he said to me, "The letter and the article that you wrote, the graduate students from my university will not be able to write the same level as you did." So I told him, even though I'm away from schools, but I have never stopped studying. After he heard this, he understood my situation and told me, nowadays in the university, the teachers are not like the teacher you know, and the students are not like the students before. You will be very disappointed if you go to the university. I was very disappointed because the professor has refused me. After a few minutes of silence, he said to me, "How about this? Come to my house every Sunday. I will give you 2 hours of teachings. From 9:30 to 11:30, I will teach you personally." That's where I have begun my learning. He gave me an overview of all the different philosophies from around the world. And the last unit was about Buddhist philosophy. I have always thought that Buddhism is a religion. It is a form of superstition. And I asked my professor this question. And he said to me, you are young. And he said, Buddha Shakyamuni was the greatest philosopher of our world. And Mahayana Buddhism is the highest form of philosophy of this world. And learning Buddhism is the most enjoyable thing in life. I was very surprised to learn about this particular subject. He told me that over 200 years ago, if you go to a temple, you will be able to find great masters who can teach you different schools of Buddhism. But nowadays, the monks in the temples no longer pay attention to the study. The monks today no longer study the sutras. So my professor advised me to delve into the studies of the sutra to gain knowledge about Buddhism. So I went to different temples, borrowing sutras, and I had to hand copy everything. because such sutras are not being sold anywhere. So I had a rare opportunity, rare affinity with Buddhism. Originally, I had no idea about religions, and I was not interested at all. But through my professor's teachings, it has changed my life. He told me, learning of Buddhism is the highest form of enjoyment in life. That was attractive to me. So at the age of 33, I was ordained as a monk. And I returned to see my teacher. He said, "You really did it." I said, "I listened to your words." And my teacher, my professor told me, "You have embarked on the right path." And I started teaching immediately after I was ordained. And it's been 56 years since I have started teaching. Now, studying the sutra in more depth, we truly appreciate my professor's words. The teaching to be found in the Mahayana Buddhist Sutra, it is not only a form of philosophy, it is also a form of science. Some of the latest development in science and research has proven a lot of things that Buddha has talked about 3,000 years ago. I believe in 20, 30 years, when the science is advanced further, it will be proven that Buddhism perhaps will not, because then Buddhism will not be viewed as a religion. It may be treated as a form of science. Buddhist teaching has changed my life. And just like what my professor said, I am able to enjoy my life. And I was able to lead a very happy and fulfilling life. I have immigrated to Australia. And my age is very impactful. It was back in the year 2000. The Minister of Immigration, after hearing what I have done, and he extended a special invitation to invite me to immigrate to Australia. I was given many incentives. Wishing for me to come here to help to promote religious harmony, especially promote mutual cooperations between different faiths, different religions, and the Aboriginal communities of Australia. After 9/11, there is a center that studies peace and conflict resolutions in the University of Queensland. They have invited me to join 2 separate forums talking about the promotion of peace and harmony. And after those 2 forums, I deeply felt that our present means to facilitate peace and harmony is not on the right path. Those methods will attract terrorist attack. We should not use any form of violence or military actions to control, to maintain peace. We need to use alternative methods. So after attending the 2 different forums, I then made a report to the professors. How do we resolve conflicts? We see conflicts between religions, conflicts between nations. So in my report, I said to everyone that conflict originated from ourselves, from within myself. conflict arises from within our family, with a high divorce rate in our present society. We see there's a conflict between husband and wife, which leads to conflict between siblings. When these people walk into the society, how can they not have conflict with others? So we need to overcome our own inner conflict. And actually, there's a deeper level. There's a deeper level of conflict within each of us. Quite a few professors were confused. So I used an example. When there is something that is profitable in front of us, do you want to possess it, or are you willing to give it to others? If you are willing to give it to others, then there is no conflict. If you try to possess it yourself, then you have a conflict with others. This is a basic example of our inner conflict. If we have that inner conflict within us, then you cannot bring peace and harmony to others. After hearing this, the university of both University of Queensland and Griffith Universities, the chancellors invited me to share what I have learned from the Chinese teachings and to share it with as many people as possible. So I was asked to represent the university to attend various international peace conferences held by UN and UNESCO. I was given an honorary professorship. I refused at first, I said, as a monk, I have no need for such titles. But then the professors and the chancellor told me that it's better if you have this honorary title to attend, to represent the university, to attend these various international conferences. And after attending different forums, different conferences, I've made quite a few keynote speeches as well. But after I made my speech, quite a few friendly scholars or experts will come and approach me and said that your speech was wonderful, but what you are talking about is ideal, they are not practical. So I understood that we really need to show a live example to everyone before people will believe in what you are saying. So I searched a lot of different places. Then I was invited to go back to my hometown in China. I haven't been back to my hometown in over 70 years. And I talked about my search for a place to conduct this experiment, if you will. And my families welcomed me to go back to my hometown. And we established a center that promotes traditional cultures and values. The aim was to teach everyone in this small town with morality, with virtue, such teachings. And in my mind, it would take at least a few years to generate any sort of influence. But little did I know that it only took 3 months for something to change in this small town. I was really surprised. I told all the teachers who study in the center, we cannot take the credit ourselves. It is the blessing from God. It is the blessing from our ancestors who are able to help this to become so successful. So later on, when we make report to UNESCO and to UN-held peace conference, we now have a true life example to show everyone. In 2006, we were invited to host a very important event celebrating the birth of the Buddha. We were invited to be the host, celebrating the Vesak Day. So, for 3 days, we were able to, in separate occasions, we presented what we have done in this small town in China, 8 hours of materials. and we had 3 days of exhibitions. And many people took great interest in this project. Now we are back to Toowoomba. We have been here 13 years, and I'm very happy to find that our mayor of Toowoomba and all the leaders from different faith, religions, and various different communities, they all expressed the same aspirations to make Toowoomba the very first model city of peace and harmony in terms of multicultural and multi-faith in the world. If we are successful, we can generate influence to the rest of the world. When people see that this can be done, then they will follow. I hope everyone in Toowoomba can hold this universal loving kindness in mind. We respect one another. We care for one another. We do our best to assist others in need. Always with respect, always with equality. Then Toowoomba will become heaven on earth. It will become the pure land on earth. If everyone shares this same aspiration, then it is not difficult to achieve this goal. There are more than 120,000 populations. There are over 10 different religions with over 80 different ethnic groups. Let's work together and become one big family. If we can do so in Toowoomba, then other people from around the world, other towns from around Australia, they can do it too. Ultimately, we hope to establish a university, a multi-faith university, where each religion will head a particular school. Every student can learn from one another while studying their own religions. Let us bring peace and harmony to everyone. Then, if truly peace and harmony can be brought to the rest of the world, then I believe religion would have fulfilled its role. I hope all of us can work together towards this goal. I would like to take this in 4 stages. The first stage, we would like to initiate a series of teaching programs, teaching about moralities and virtue. 3 years later, we hope to take it to the next stage, which is to establish a constant forum. At that stage, we should establish an event center. Then, in the third stage, we should try to establish a graduate school. In that school, we will try to nurture future teachers in different faiths and different religions. And eventually, the 4th stage will establish the multi-faith universities. As long as we have a dozen teachers, then we can start to begin the construction of the multi-faith university. We should inherit the positive teachings from each faith and religions and promote them to as many people as possible. I highly encourage everyone. Let's do our best to delve into our own holy scriptures, no matter which faith you belong to. So in the future, when we truly establish this university, you can join this effort to make the world a better place. Today's time is up. I will end my talk here. Thank you. Master Jingkong. I have a question. In our world, we have many religions: Amitabha Buddha, Buddha Shakyamuni, In Christian, we have God. From Islamic faith, we have Allah. What's their relationship like? And I've been learning and studying here in Toowoomba. Every Sunday, I have Christian friends. They are very friendly. They will come to my house to teach me about Christianity. But I think I'm more of a Buddhist. But I don't really want to refuse them their kindness. And they will SMS me and invite me to attend various different churches, church functions. So what should I do? May I ask you this question? Of course you can go. In my early days when I stayed in the US, our neighbors are mostly very faithful Christians. I remember after 3 or 4 months of staying there, they came to me and asked me what you are doing, what sort of job are you doing? How come you seem very happy all the time? Because we are always smiling. So they were curious about who we are. I told them I'm a Buddhist. So what is Buddha? I told them Buddha is about happiness. And Buddha represents happiness. He also represents someone who has a pure heart. When you have a pure heart, you will enjoy longevity and health. Oh, we want that as well. So I told them, on Sunday, go to church. God is like a father to you. And on Saturday, if you want to learn about Buddhism, you can come to our place. Buddha is like a teacher. Within a family, there is a father and mother. But in school, they are teachers. So it's not conflicting in any way. Then a lot of people came and learned about Buddha's teachings. What is the meaning of the word Buddha? Buddha represents wisdom. When we have wisdom, that means we have less afflictions. When you have less afflictions, you become healthy, you will enjoy longevity. So as Christians, do you want to learn to gain more wisdom, more health? I'm sure when God knows that you are learning from a good teacher, such as the Buddha, He will be happy too. He will not say no. So of course, you should go to church to listen and understand more about Christianity. Every faith and every religion, they are all number one. There's no number two. In Mahayana Buddhism, it says that all methods of cultivation, they are equal. This includes all faith, all religions. This includes all fields of study. As long as the teaching is not teaching the negative ways, then everything is equal. It's very good.
Okay. Thank you, Master. When we speak of harmony, my understanding is that there is relative harmony and absolute harmony. So relative harmony where we fit in with our close circle or our family. Would you agree that it's preferable to always, from within ourselves, deal with that conflict to bring harmony, but with a focus on achieving absolute harmony, which will then fit in with universal or God's laws?
就是他的问题是说，他觉得这个和谐是一个相对的一个名词。他说我们内心有自己的和谐，所以说只要我们内心没有了这个冲突，那我们就可以把和谐带给自己的家庭。对。但是呢，有没有另外一种绝对的这种和谐？就是这种绝对和谐是我们可以把不仅是对家庭，而是对所有人都一样有
绝对的和谐。
有绝对的和谐。There is absolute harmony. Absolute harmony belongs to our innate nature. It came from our true self nature. Relative harmony is something we acquired. It's not true to our self nature. Absolute harmony is something that's innate to us. Relative harmony is something that is what we have learned from outside. Just like when a baby is first being born, it's full of harmony. But when the baby grows up, the baby is no longer in harmony with others. So absolute harmony is something we carry with us since birth. Relative harmony is something we actually acquired through learning in later life. Respected Master, I'm very happy to be here to listen to your talk. In the past, I can only see you on the television screen. Now, I'm very happy to see you in person. I'm very much influenced by my mother, who is a Buddhist. She shared with me much wisdoms. One of the things that she said to me, I don't quite follow. With my limited understanding, I would like to ask you this question. I remember that it was once said, competition will lead to conflict. Conflict will lead to war. From where I grew up, I was growing up in a very competitive environment. I was sent to Sydney by my company in China. There are 5 million of populations. There are 5 million people living in Sydney, but in Shanghai alone in China, there are more than 30 million people living there. In other words, there's a Chinese proverb, there are more food here than there are monks. But in China, there are more monks than there are food. So I grew up in a very competitive world. It doesn't matter whether I was in school or when I enter into work. You will find that everyone is your competitor. So in such an environment, I grew up. So my understanding about my life and what I have learned about Buddhism, I don't understand that much about Buddhist teaching. May I ask you this question? It's bringing me a lot of afflictions. So please, and thank you. Thank you. Competition is a very common phenomenon we see around the world today. This is wrong. This is not the correct way to do things. If competition can gain us profit, then Confucius, Buddha Shakyamuni, will encourage us to compete. Through competition, you will not gain what you want. So what do we need to do in order to chase what we want? First, people in this world, we chase after wealth. We seek wisdom. Then lastly, we look forward to longevity and health. Buddhist teaching has told us the practice of giving can help us achieve all these goals. The practice of giving of wealth, we will gain wealth. When we giving teachings to others, we will gain wisdom. When we give fearlessness to others, we will gain health and longevity. What we are able to get in this life are something that we have done in previous life. We have gift. That's why we are able to gain. We cannot. So we have more than one life. So as long as we practice the giving of when we compete, we will be in debt. We will not gain any profit. This is something we must understand. How do we gain something? First of all, wealth. It is something everyone wants. Secondly, wisdom or intelligence. Thirdly, health and longevity. These three things are what everyone wants. How do we obtain them? Buddhist teaching told us the practice of giving can gain all these three things. When you give wealth, you gain wealth. When you practice the giving of teachings, you gain intelligence and wisdom. When you give fearlessness, you gain longevity and health. Somebody seems to have all this without seeking it. It's because what they have done in their previous life. We must confirm that they are past, present, and future lives. We do not end our life within this one lifetime. We do not really die. If you die, then we are in trouble. So to accumulate good fortunes, we need to practice giving. If you don't have good fortunes, you can cultivate it. For me, I don't have any money, I don't have intelligence, I don't have longevity. But my teacher, Master Zhang Jia, taught me how to cultivate for them. The first day when I became a student of Master Zhang Jia, I was 26 at the time, and my teacher was 75. He was almost like a grandfather to me. He taught me. He saw clearly that I have no wealth. I have a bit of intelligence. I'm still salvageable, but I don't have a long life. So he taught me how to cultivate, and by following his advice, I did well. At that age, I didn't even have enough money to feed myself. Now we are talking about establishing a university. So when you have money, give it to someone who needs it. The more you give, the more you will get. That's my 63 years of practice. When you give teachings, when you give Dharma to others, you will gain intelligence and wisdoms. I followed Master Yin Guang's way. I printed many different types of books, sutras, and I freely distribute them to everyone. These are all practice of giving of teachings to others. How about giving of fearlessness? Those who are in need of medical treatment, you help them out. For example, the Tuongba Hospice, we donated $10,000 every month to this hospice to help those who are in need. And also the Tuongba Base Hospital Foundation, we donate to that foundation to help others too. But when I was in Singapore, I was approached by the Christian community. One of the Catholic nun asked me to donate to a cause, to buy an ambulance in one of the nations in Africa. I donated that as well. And there are many other medical expenditures that's needed in Africa. We have all donated to that. This is the donation of the giving of fearlessness. Now I'm 88. I can be seen as having a long life. So my teacher's teaching is true. Don't treat it as something that's not important. We need to truly practice what our teachers have taught us. So now I do have wealth, I have wisdom, and I have longevity. I have them all. I've never been to a hospital. If you go to a hospital, you cannot find my medical history.
Honourable Master, I think everyone would agree that this has been an absolute privilege to have the opportunity to hear your words this evening. And in terms of the really big questions of learning, the enjoyment of learning, the enjoyment of teaching, of governance, of government, of wisdom, of peace and harmony, all of those really good things, thank you very much indeed for sharing with such generosity of thought.